Hey everyone, it's blog time, and today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm looking at Audio Assault's Dominator. I nearly did a Gene Simmons copyright infringement there, didn't I? But I think he's given that up now, hasn't he? Thankfully. So Dominator is the new guitar amp simulator plugin from Audio Assault, who you might know from their other kind of metal plugins. They did Grind Machine, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I am going to run the plugin through its paces in the context of a real life, well, not a real life, a mocked up mix, or three mocked up mixes in fact. And we're just going to test and see how the sounds stack together, which is really important, and how they fit within the context of a real sounding record. I'll do another video where I'm just noodling and making changes, so you can hear some of the pedals and some of the cabs and stuff in more detail, just with the solo guitar. So let's go over to the computer and have a look at Dominator. So we are over in Mixbus, and as I say, we are looking at Dominator, the epic metal style high gain amp simulator, cab simulator, stomp box simulator from Audio Assault. And Audio Assault have been kind enough to send me a copy of this to review, but this isn't a paid review. They're not coercing me to give any opinions or anything like that, so all the opinions are my own. Okay, so now we are going to look at the GUI, the graphical user interface of Dominator. First of all, it kind of looks a bit more photoreal than Grind Machine, I guess. Grind Machine was pretty good looking, but maybe this is inspiring. Particularly the red glow. Either this amp is about to go on fire, or it's been possessed, and you need to call either the fire brigade or some kind of exorcist, because there's something evil inside it. Top left hand corner, you've got a gate. It's a bit like a Boss noise suppressor kind of thing. Really simple gate, just with one knob, and it works really well. It seems to work fine on it's been tailored for guitars of this particular, for the metal genre. So great. Though you can do other genres in this plugin as well. So no worries about that. Okay, so you got 5 pedals, pedal slots which you can drag around. All the usual suspects, from boosts, clean boosts, tube screamers, compressors. I'm going to go through these actually in a bit more detail in the noodling video, the playing video that I'm demoing the guitar in. But this video, I'm just putting together some tracks, and you can sort of hear how the guitars stack up together. And how they sound in the context of a real mix, which is really important, I think. Doubler's pretty cool. The delay and the reverb at the moment, because there's no effects loop, aren't particularly very useful for high gain settings on the amp. Though if you're doing something more mellow, they work great. There's no, as far as I can see, there's no tempo sync on the delay yet either. But I'm assured, in terms of the effects loop, if you get the upcoming update, there'll be a right-click selection on the pedals, and you'll be able to select the effects loop if you like. So yeah, that's the pedals. No tuner and no octaver, but the pedals that are there are really tasty, to be honest. So here's the front panel of the amp. Looks cool, doesn't it? You can turn it off if you want a clean sound. Channel A is more like a Marshall, early Marshall, like a Mark II or maybe a JCM 800. As you start pushing it a bit further, they're not circuit modelled. They're just kind of designed by Audio Assault by ear. So I don't know how they're doing it, but it's incredible. They sound awesome. 3-band EQ. Channel B is more aggressive, more modern, bit more sort of dual rectifier-y sounding, sharper, and there's a presence control as well. And as you know, presence controls are generally in the tube amp world, or a negative feedback on the low mids and the lows of the power amp. So that gives you a sharpness to the sound. I don't know how it works on Dominator, but it does certainly cut through in the same way as a normal presence would. Cabs, a little icon we move around. It's kind of pointing in a weird direction, but it's it's so instinctive to use. It's great. When you pick the mic up, the speaker cloth, the speaker grill vanishes so you can see where the speakers are. You've got British 4x12, I'm guessing that's a 1960 Marshall. American 2x12 and Japanese 2x12. Now, I've got an early version of this, so I don't know why this says 4x12 there. So I don't know if they're 4x12s or 2x12s, but I guess that will be fixed soon. I'm guessing this is probably a Fender, and this is probably, the Japanese one is probably a Roland. The German, we're probably looking at a Bogner. If I'm wrong, you think I'm wrong, comment below. And whilst you're commenting, subscribe and like the video if you like what I'm doing. It helps me make more, raises the profile of the channel, and people will send me more things to review. So that's cool. And you can load IRs in as well. To be honest, though, I'm not using IRs very much with this. I think the single mic option, because you can only add one mic on these supplied cabs, sounds awesome. Love it. You can change the mic. The graphic doesn't change, but the sound definitely changes. You've got a few options there. If you're a soundie, you'll know what they are. 421, Roya, Ribbon 121 maybe. You know the score. And there's high and low pass filters as well, which is tasty because you can do all sorts with that. Presets. Some cool names of the presets. 80s hair is my favourite setting, I think. Modern Brit is like a modern Marshall. That guy, love it. A couple of these are not really within my genre, but you get the general gist of it all. There's of course an output control, and that is pretty much it. No manual as of yet. But you don't really need it. It's so instinctive and easy. If you play guitar, you know what you're doing. It's that simple. There's no hidden controls as far as I can tell. And it just works. Great stuff. Right, let's have a listen to Dominator in the context of some mixes. So I'm stacking up some guitars and stuff. So here's a Les Paul playing some 80s hair kind of stuff. So you get the gist. You've got some nice kind of cabinet thump and stuff. Let's just try the distance on that as well. Yeah, you can hear the different sounds and just manipulate it. You get obviously more low end, but I've filtered that out just for this kind of little pastiche to the 80s. So what I've done is I've created 3 different little tracks, just a couple of guitars and maybe 4 in this case, 3 in this case, 2 in this case. Just with the 80s hair setting at the moment, we'll do a little bit of tweaking as we go through. So this first one is like a LA 80s hair metal kind of thing. So you've got a Les Paul. I think it was the bridge pickup, just cranked, everything up to 4 in this case, so we can get the most sort of high end out of it. And a regular Strat. With a maple fingerboard. So have a little listen and see what it sounds like all together. There's just two guitars here and a bass and some drums. So cool, you get the general gist of how that sounds. Let's move on. So exactly the same as before, I've left the rhythm guitars set onto the 80s hair metal kind of sound, but I've added this lead guitar for this little track. It's a kind of Saatchi Vi-ish, maybe a bit of Iron Maiden vibe in there as well. You'll notice that I have trimmed down using region gain. I've trimmed down the region gain on this rhythm guitar just to clean up the sound a little bit, which is something you can do. And of course, when you do that, the noise floor stays at the same level in comparison to your guitar part, rather than rolling back at the guitar. So that's just another approach to try and keep things super clean. Yeah, have a listen to this. What I've done is I've recorded this lead part in not especially well played recording, but you know, you get the general gist of it. I'm using Dominator, of course. There's a problem with this guitar. It's a RGX 612A, my Yamaha from 1989, 87, something like that. And there's a problem with the electronics, but you know, I thought I would just do the part and gate it really heavily. It's not ideal, but it does represent some things that might happen in a real recording environment where you've got an artist who's absolutely besotted with this one guitar and they won't you know, record on anything else. So just to show you that the tools are there in Dominator to try and clean things up a little bit. The amp is set on channel B, gain 10 and a presence of 5, 4x12, 57, quite a distance back, and there is some wah and chorus that comes in towards the middle. So the middle section is wah'd and then the end is chorused. So let's have a listen. Cool, so as you can see, I put a little bit of delay on with the Harrison 3D delay, just to add a bit of a vibe, bit of a, you know, continuous sound to that solo part. I put that on as a separate plugin because, as I say, at the moment the delay pedals don't work in the loop, so they would just get very messy. So we move over to the final track, the third track, which is a bit kind of djenty. A little bit technical metal, as it were. So I've added 2 more guitars because I'd like at least 2 layers of guitars on each side. Sometimes I do more than that. I'd probably go in and edit out the gaps in between these really chunky chugger parts, either with a separate gate or manually, you know, or on the actual wave, the region. So there's lots of editing just to make it super tight and really aggressive. The super quick mixes that you're listening to today, they're nothing special, but they give you the idea of the sort of things you can achieve with this plugin. So it's kind of cool. So why don't we play you out with this, and hopefully you've enjoyed listening to Dominator by Audio Assault. You can get it from the Audio Assault website, and yeah, have a blast. It sounds really good. I'm loving it. Enjoy. I can definitely highly recommend it, despite the issue with the input. So happy recording. I'll see you next time.